T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
I am the tiger, dancing through the fire. I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar.
You're listening to the Confidence Alchemist Radio Show with your host, the Confidence Alchemist himself, Keith Blakemore Noble. To find out more, visit theconfidencealchemist.com. But not before you've listened to this episode of the Confidence Alchemist Radio Show.
Hello. Welcome back, dear listener. Great to have you back here once again on the Confidence Alchemist Radio Show here on the Coach on Fire Radio Network. My name is Keith Blakemore Noble. I am the Confidence Alchemist, helping you to transform your deepest fears and phobias into your greatest strengths. And I will be your host once again. This is episode 6 of the radio show. So glad to have you with me. And I'm also glad this week to have with me Annette Lynch, who is, well, we're going to find out a lot more about this amazing lady. She represented her country in the Sydney Olympics back in 2000. She's retired from sport a few times, and she, in the process of doing all that, there's Annette laughing in the background there. In the process of doing all that, she has become a master of change. She is the game-changing expert, really helping people to change their game in life, wherever they are in life. So we're going to have a great chat, learn a lot from Annette, listen to everything Annette has to share with us, and I would strongly recommend take loads of notes. Either way, it's great to have you here, dear listener, and it's great to have you, Annette. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Keith, and thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I'm really looking forward to the next hour.
Hey, it's my absolute pleasure, Annette. It's great to have you here. Just for people listening, just so that they know a little bit, who are you, Annette, and where are you?
Who am I? Well, the easy thing to start with, where am I? I am calling in from Maui, Hawaii, with a lot of aloha. I'm originally from Australia, and but I've been living in Hawaii for, I always say, a solid 5 years, but on and off for 8 years. And but originally from Australia, I am, as you mentioned, I'm an Olympian. Some say an ex-Olympian, but we say once an Olympian, always an Olympian. Played beach volleyball for Australia at the 2000 Olympics. And since, as you said, I did retire a few times. I retired actually 3 times. The third time was the charm, really doing it for the right reasons, and learning a lot, how to transition effectively. And we'll probably go a little bit deeper into that. But I became a life coach, performance coach, neuro-linguistic practitioner, same as what you do, Keith. And I got to teach that around the world, and which is how we met. But the settled in Maui and created a little bit of a life for myself here.
Fantastic. And yet you're right. You're teaching people NLP was neuro-linguistic programming. That was indeed exactly how we met. I was fortunate enough to be one of the people who Annette taught NLP and hypnosis. She was my introduction into this whole new world that's opened up for me over the past 7 years. And it's great to have you on the show so that we can share some of your experiences with the wider world. But we've Annette and I have known each other for a while, but we haven't caught up for quite some time. So it's good to finally catch up again. So how do you go from being an Olympian, which is like the top of the top athletes in the world? How do you go from that to, where do you go from there? I mean, that's kind of like the pinnacle of where you can get. Where do you go from there, and how?
Well, it's really settling down. When I first retired after the 2000 Olympics, I was really looking forward to after sport and just doing all the things that what I thought normal people do. Not having to be so committed to my sport and having a little bit more choices spend time with family, and even create a family. I was single at the time and looking forward to, not being married to volleyball anymore. And and I actually had a degree. I had a physiotherapy degree, but I wasn't passionate about that. And had some ideas of getting involved with sports media, sports marketing, something with sports, and I flitted amongst some different jobs, but wasn't really finding my feet. And I guess I was in marketing, thinking that would help me, but I didn't commit myself to studying the things that I could possibly make it easier. I did some internships in sports media. I did commentating and this and that, but no real fixed direction with that. And I fell back into physiotherapy, and I also fell back into volleyball, which is why it took me 3 times to retire. I kept gravitating to what I identified with, what I was good at, where I felt rewarded. Fell in with my where I felt I belonged. And I guess the unfortunate thing was that I was still succeeding. There was still something more to learn in volleyball. I know that when I came back in 2002, I had one of my best years on the world tour, and even getting a 5th on in a world tour competition. So there was still something more to get. This is later in my life. And so when I retired again at the end of that year, I was like, it's time to get on. The body's hurting and time to do other things. But I came back again when I was 40 because I could, I guess, and it was as fit as I could be. And, still made it onto our national tour finals, got a second. Would have been nice to have gotten a first at 40 years old. But I was still competitive, and was still winning in my state and winning Queen of Beaches kind of thing. So I guess there was that reward in volleyball, and I felt that identified with being an athlete, and that's where I belonged. And what helped me to really move on and retire for the third and last time was really realizing that I was more than an athlete, and finding new goals and new direction with a passion. Up until that time, I really had been living in the past and thinking this is what my life's about, and there's nowhere else to go. And I started going to some seminars, personal development seminars, which really opened up my eyes to think, how do I want my life to be ahead of me? Stop looking behind, look forward. And I started to dream again. Just when you're young, you think, what do you want to be? It's like, well, what do I want to do with my life? And started to set some clear goals of what that looked like. And I saw the trainer up on the stage, and I thought, wow, that would be great to be out. I'd done a lot of motivational speaking in my life as an Olympian, and I thought, mate, imagine being able to transform people's lives. And so I enrolled in all these courses, invested in myself for probably the first time, and it made such a big difference to my life.
It certainly did. It certainly made a massive difference in your life and enabled you to make a massive, massive difference in so many other people's lives as well. I just want to go back to you basically retired from sport 3 times. I wonder how much of that do you think might have been down to, as you said, there was more to learn, more for you to get from sport. And I'm wondering how much of that for you and also for other people, how much of it is kind of around having the confidence to go, right, you know what, doing this thing, in your case, sport, volleyball, this is where I'm comfortable. This is what I know how to do. And kind of you branch out into other things, but then confidence or lack of confidence in the other things that you're doing kind of makes you almost fall back into that comfort zone of doing what you're good at. I mean, how much of that do you think might have played a part? And if it did, what can people do to kind of say, right, you know what, this is it. I'm now going to step out of this comfort zone and do new things rather than keep coming back to what I always do.
Yeah. I think definitely the comfort zone comes into it, and seeing the ease of making those things happen, and falling back into it can be very easy. And you know, they were my friends, and I was having fun, and really the way to move out of that, where, you know, ultimately it, you know, if I stayed there, it wasn't going to be comfortable for too long. You know, the body can only go so far. Unfortunately, you know, sport is an area where you retire early, and sometimes, you know, the change is thrust upon you if you are injured, etc. And not just for athletes, you know, change can be thrust upon you, and you may continue to look back and think, no, I want to be here. This is comfortable, and it's all about really identifying, in a way, a new vision for your life, and making that clear and vivid and inspiring, and map, in a way, sort of mapping it out, but just getting a clear picture of what it looks like. And that's what happened for me when I started to get clear on a life without volleyball and what that would look like. You know, when I first retired, I was like, yeah, I want to do a bit of sports media, but it wasn't clear, and I didn't really believe in myself. I really didn't believe in that goal. I had a lot of excuses that it wouldn't happen. You know, I didn't have the degree, I didn't have the education, I didn't have the profile. I was a low-profile athlete in a low-profile sport. I didn't have the Olympic medal or anything. You know, I even, you know, my mantra was, you know, I'm just an Olympian. I didn't even appreciate the fact that I was an Olympian. I didn't appreciate what I had, and so there were a lot of reasons to keep me back in my comfort zone, or maybe I was trying to, you know, still achieve something that I thought was worthy to move on. And the difference was, for me, was getting a clear vision of what I wanted my life to be, which enabled me to let go of that old image of myself and that old identity. And when I switched around and realized what I wanted to do, it made it even hard to play volleyball. I had one more tournament to play with a gal, and I said, I just can't do it. I just was too excited about all these other things happening.
I don't know. That's interesting. So, because of all this other stuff that you'd learned and developed, because you were determined to push yourself into your new career, this old pattern of falling back into the old comfort zone actually no longer quite as comfortable as it had been, and no longer had the pull, because you had something else that was at this point in life an even stronger pull. Yes. Yeah,
strong pull, and it, you know, as I was talking, I was sort of thinking, you know, it almost dissolved the fear. It's fear that holds us back from going into something new, because I guess it's the fear of the unknown. But when you make your time to picture and envision what that looks like, it's no longer the unknown. It's, you know, there are definitely unknown factors. Will it work, or doubt? Or, if you are focused and committed to it, which are two of my important keys for making change, focus and commitment, that will help you overcome the discomfort, the fear, to move forward and make it happen.
That certainly makes a lot of sense. So, we're going to come on to these keys in just a moment. I know you've spoken before about there being three main steps to making change. Could you sort of give us a little bit of insight into what are these three main steps to making change? And
they're pretty simple, but, you know, simple is not always what we do. It's not necessarily easy. And
yes.
it's my mantra of dare to dream, believe, and make it happen. And so daring to dream is setting goals, getting clear on what it is you want. And, you know, I put the dare factor in that. It's like, really dream about what it is that you want. And, you know, going outside perhaps of what's currently happening now. And it could be completely opposite to what you're doing now. But, you know, when you this is what I want my life to be, or this is what I want to have happen in my life, thinking about that, get a picture of it.